Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women in Innovation Building Success webinar on expanding your horizons, in which we will explore some of the programs and opportunities available through KTN, which would help you to grow your business. Before I hand over to Lorna, the first speaker in today's webinar, I'll quickly run through some key points. The session today is being recorded and will be circulated along with the slides after. All attendees will be muted throughout the webinar. A Q&A session will be held at the end of the webinar, so if you'd like to ask any questions, please add this to the Q&A box provided. So the agenda today is Lorna Howard, Knowledge Transfer Advisor, presenting the KTP program, followed by Chris Bagley, Head of Infrastructure, presenting the Innovation Exchange program, Ian Tracy, Head of Access to Funding and Finance, covering the Investment Readiness and Pitch Fest program, Nigel Ricks, Head of Enabling Technologies, covering the A4I program, and lastly, back to Chris Bagley presenting the I3P, followed by the Q&A section mentioned before. So over to you, Lorna.
Thank you for inviting me to speak as part of the Women in Innovation webinar. My name is Lorna Howarth, and I am the KTP advisor for Fife and Tayside. So Knowledge Transfer Partnerships, also known as KTP, is a highly successful program that has been running for 44 years. A company may face a strategically important challenge. Perhaps they want to develop an innovative new product, a process, or a service, or improve upon existing ones. However, they're unable to do this as they don't have the skills or capability in-house. However, there are academics located within our UK universities or research institutes that are world leaders in this required area of expertise. So the company forms a partnership with the academic team. An associate is employed specifically to do the day-to-day delivery of the project. It is the job of the associate to transfer new knowledge and capabilities into the company under the supervision of the academic experts who will visit the company for half a day per week or for a day per fortnight, depending on their location. The outcome is a transformative, strategically important step change for the company. They receive newly acquired knowledge and capability that is embedded for long-term beneficial change. KTPs are applicable across all industry sectors and they cover all research areas. Companies of any size are able to do a KTP, providing they meet the eligibility criteria. KTPs are grant funded. 67% of the project costs are covered by a grant for SMEs, and 50% of the total KTP project costs are covered for large companies. In order to be eligible, a company must be UK-based and registered at Companies House. The only sector who are not eligible is the public sector. The company will need to demonstrate that they are able to contribute their share of the project costs, show affordability, and that they have sufficient capacity to embed and commercially exploit the project's outcomes. The company and the academic team will jointly recruit the associate who will be employed by the university or the research institution. The associate will be predominantly based at the company premises. The academic experts will spend roughly half a day per week supervising the associate at the company. The project length can be anything from 12 months to 36 months. Successful projects are those that demonstrate an impact. So there is a strong business case to support the project which highlights its strategic importance to the company. The project will deliver a credible, significant return on investment. It provides the company with a clear advantage. For example, it opens up new markets, provides a unique selling point, or has the potential to generate IP. Successful projects are innovative. So this could be innovative for the company or for the sector. This may be incremental innovation or disruptive. We consider all types of innovation. Successful projects are challenging. They have a significant challenge that cannot be addressed by consultancy or by pre-existing off-the-shelf solutions. There is also funding available for management KTPs. Management KTPs follow the same principles as outlined for standard KTPs. This initiative enables a company to partner with a university, business, or management school. And the outcome of the project will be a step change in the company's management performance through major improvements to the company's existing management practices that will lead to increased productivity and growth. Management KTPs would seek to support the identification and implementation of business change across the full range of management and business skills, including strategic and operational management, including effective monitoring, targets, incentives, and operations, employment relations and management, including the use of incentives, organizational psychology, marketing, accounting, finance, or logistics. There are over 30 knowledge transfer advisors based across the UK, and we work with companies located in our geography, so please contact the advisor nearest to your business location. We will help you to scope out your project, maximising the benefits, and will provide guidance during the development of your KTP application. We provide structured project management support throughout the lifetime of the project, and we work closely with the partnership all the way through to project completion. 94% of KTP projects complete and achieve or overachieve their objectives. We also work closely with the associate, and we provide coaching and mentoring throughout. Once a KTP is nearing completion, we will also work with the company to make connections and signpost to other relevant opportunities. If knowledge transfer partnerships or indeed management KTP sound like something that you could be interested in, then please visit the website www.ktp-uk.org for further information. Whether you're a company, an academic, or a graduate, you will find the website is packed with something for you. It features successful case studies, news headlines, and other interesting information, and it also lists associate vacancies currently being recruited for newly awarded projects. This has been a very quick overview of KTP. I think there may be time at the end for some questions, but please don't hesitate to contact me if you require any further information on KTPs. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lorna. And over to you, Chris.
Good afternoon. Thanks very much. Sorry for that pause. We were frantically trying to unmute here and get our slides in place. What I'd like to do over the next few minutes is talk you through the KTN Innovation Exchange Programme. This is something that we've been running for just about 2 years now, and it's opening up opportunities for cross-sectoral solution provision. Basically, we look at sector challenges, significant sector challenges and significant challenge holders. And those significant challenge holders can be significant because they are large organizations and or the challenge that they hold is a significant one. And what do I mean by that? These are here and now challenges that are affecting the performance, the delivery of that organization. And by definition, those challenges have yet to be sorted out and addressed by the existing supply chain, the existing research base for that organisation. So what we do is we look at exposing that challenge to a broader cross-sectoral set of solution providers or potential solution providers. And on doing that, we reach into the KTN's network that crosses all the different areas and sectors that we have. We do this using quite a structured process. It's the high-level overview. And one of the first things is to sit down with that challenge holder and translate that challenge. If you come from a nuclear environment, for example, you might come up with some extremely technical nuclear challenges. But when they boil down, what you're looking to do is inspect a rusty pipe that's underground. It might have all sorts of technical issues around it, but it is looking at a fairly basic piece of challenge. And so we sit down with the challenge holder and agree with them how we can translate that challenge and make it more accessible to a wider audience that is out of different sectors and those that aren't necessarily schooled in the large enterprise areas. So we target SMEs within this. Having translated that challenge, we post it on the Innovates UK, on the KTN Innovation Exchange website, and then run basically competition. That's where solution providers can fill in a very brief online form, can do it in about 30 minutes, and propose those solutions. We go through a process where we take those solutions, we review them, and we present them to the challenge holder. The challenge holders then go through what we might call a dragon's den process, but basically we go through a pitching day. And those solution providers that have been selected get the chance to pitch directly to the technical challenge holder within that organization. So for an SME, for example, this is a great opportunity to get in front of large organizations and directly address those challenges to them. That then moves on to the next stage where if that solution is accepted, a B2B process is put in place, and it's up to the two organizations to put in train what it is they need to do to provide that solution. Now, what often happens within this process is that a solution provider may come up with part of the answer. And what we can also do within this is broker consortia, broker partnerships that go together to the benefit of all involved. So it's an end-to-end process that identifies challenges and solutions from different areas. As I mentioned, it's quite an easy thing to do. Just brief summary of the company details. The idea summary, 300 words or so. Technology readiness, intellectual property, and we give you the option to upload any extra attachments, PDFs, drawings, Microsoft documents. This can be done in 30 minutes, typically. Quote that you see there from Adam Smith from Intrepid Minds, something they tried over one lunchtime. Did that, and for 30 minutes in a lunchtime piece of work, Intrepid Minds are now engaged with one of the global OEMs for wind turbines, and they've got a global contract that's just coming to be drawn up there. So this is a system that does work, and it's quick and to the point. How do you get involved? Here's the website, KTN Innovation Exchange site. You can see all the details there. Go to there. All the existing, or all the current, I should say, challenges will be put there. You click on a challenge, it gives you a description of what's going on, register for that, and fill out the form. It's as quick and as simple as that. Quick and simple, does it work? Yes. On the offshore wind side of things, these is how some of the competitions are formed. We had 5 competitions, 14 different challenges, 110 applications into that. Out of that, there were 38 previously unseen companies. So these are companies that the challenge holder simply wasn't aware of. Out of that, we had 8 demonstration projects, and interesting, 5 commercial contracts have been put in place. So this does work. It can get results. As I say, it's a way of introducing a broad cross-sectoral approach to challenges that are existing here and now. So that's the IX competition. That's how it works. If you need more information, please do go to the websites indicated below, or drop us a line direct. Thank you very much. More later.
So now we're going to pass over to Ian Tracy, who's the Head of Access to Funding and Finance.
Excellent. Thank you, Shuan. And first thing I want you to think about is, if you had £1 million spare, what would you spend it on? I'm going to put Chris on the spot. Chris, what would you spend £1 million on if you had it completely spare?
I'd probably spend it on a nice desert island type place where I could relax and perhaps think of some interesting innovation exchange solutions.
Fantastic. Not quite the answer I was expecting, but this is what happens on live presentations. And Nigel, you're sat next to me. What would you spend £1 million on if you had £1 million spare quid?
I'd try and invest it in startup companies.
Oh, that's a really boring answer. So the answer I'm pushing for, of course, is be a nice yacht, maybe a supercar, something like a buy-to-let property. And the point I'm trying to make here is that for investors, the alternative for investing in you is perhaps a buy-to-let property. And the sort of communication that goes with it is the English is correct, the paper is thick, the grammar is right, the imagery is outstanding. And when we're talking to investors, That's the sort of thing we need to be doing, is making sure that the message works. What I'm going to do in the next few minutes is share with you a little bit of content and tell you why you should engage with us and what you get out of it. In case you've forgotten, my name's Ian Tracy, and I'm looking forward to the next 5 minutes with you. So, what sort of companies should be looking to be working with are those who are on the edge, on the cusp of raising investment. This will include a solid management team of 2 or 3 people, some really good, strong evidence of what we call traction, which means customers buying your product, perhaps some, or definitely some sales, a 6-figure turnover. And realistically, you should be looking to raise a minimum of $250,000 and a sensible plan how to spend it over the next 18 months. And a question that often confuses people is, who wants to buy you at the end of this process and why? And we need our entrepreneurs to accept that idea that you're acquiring investors so that they can sell you later on. And that sometimes needs a little bit of time to digest. What do? Well, basically, the Access to Funding and Finance team supplies specialist knowledge across all the different funding options, but especially the private sector. We expect our public sector funding knowledge to come from our knowledge transfer managers and our knowledge transfer advisors, and we support people in the skill set. A little bit of information. As we know, there are only 4 main ways of raising finance externally. These are the 4. And out of the 4, sales is the most important one. And that's because you're more in control of your destiny, and it supplies information to the other 3, the grants, the debt, and the investment, that people want your product. Because all those other funders are giving you cash on the journey to help you find your customers, and that's what they want to see. It is a funding cocktail. What we mean by that is you have to blend it together, use your bit of sales as your match against your grants to provide the traction for the investor to know that you're worth the journey. And don't just see each funding opportunity in isolation, see how they dovetail. Also, don't forget sources of funding like tax credits, R&D tax credits. They're a useful source of funding. In all these things, it's important that you understand your audience, and you have to spend your time expressing it in a way that your audience can appreciate why they should be listening to you. All too often, we hear people telling us why the widget is a better widget without realizing that the funder's more interested in, are they going to get the loan back? And perhaps you should be talking about your sales pipeline instead. In reality, there are only 3 types of pitches I would suggest to you. There's a short one that takes about 30 seconds to a minute, a formal one that will take about 5 to 15 minutes, and then a deep dive written pitch deck. If you work with us and come on one of our pitch fests, we'll take you through that journey, and we'll explain what should be in each of them and the importance, and help you perfect your story. What are the elements of a good short minute pitch? Sorry, that's like. And what are the elements of the investment pitch? I can tell any investment story for any company in 7 minutes and 12 slides. Many people are amazed to hear that, and many a time I've worked with people who start off thinking that they need 45 minutes, but we finesse it, refine it, and concentrate it till we end up with 12 slides, 7 minutes, and something that engages to investors and wants them to take the next step. We will spend our time telling you how to find investors, what to say when you meet them, and how to get them excited by what you've got to offer. And we'll go through what might happen in Q&A, questions and answers. What are the usual questions? What are good answers? What not to say? How to deal with those awkward people that always sit in the room and think they know more than you, but in reality don't, but you haven't got the courage or the intelligence to tell them that. All those sort of things as well. Another key thing that we will talk about are valuations. There are 6 main ways of valuing a company, and we'll explain how they work and how you can apply them to your company. The biggest difficulty we often face in valuations was if I was to ask a simple question, and I guess I'm going to turn around and say, so Baggers, if I was to ask you how much is a 2-bedroom house where you live, could you answer that question?
With a bit of research, I might be able to, but it depends whereabouts where I live it is. There's lots of variables.
There are, but you'd understand the parameters.
Oh, indeed.
And that's the beauty of buying a house, is you can go to a website, you can go to a newspaper and find the information you need. When it comes to valuing a company, we don't have that luxury, and that's a big difference, and we tell you how to overcome it. So what happens? Well, we've got 4 days together. Day 1 is training, where we share all this knowledge with you. Day 2 is a group critique day, where you'll stand up, do your pitch in front of your peers, and we help you to refine it. Day 3, X Factor Day, selection. You'll come in for your 15 minutes of fame, do your pitch, we'll say thank you, and off you go back. And about half of you will be selected to meet the investors on day 4. We do these by geography, in conjunction with the European Enterprise Network, or by sector with people like Chris and Nigel. And finally, and by no means least, if you think if there's anything missing on our Pitch Fest program and you think we should be doing one for you in your geography or community, please do get in touch and we will be more than happy to work with you. Thank you, that's me. I'm now going to hand over to, meet the team and hand over to Nigel.
Good afternoon, it's Nigel Ricks here. I'm head of the Enabling Technologies team. And when we say hand over, we mean it quite literally as a laptop is being passed between us to do the presentations. My day job is helping companies innovate and develop new products. But I've also, for the last 3 years, been involved with the Analysis for Innovators project, which is slightly different and tries to address and help industry in a different way. So every program has to have its sort of vision statement. Ours is more like an elevator pitch, but it's basically to try and address productivity of industry in the UK. And we're interested in solving existing problems. So it's not developing new products. It's about trying to make whatever you do or whatever you make more efficient. And we do it by trying to involve connections between you and the UK's leading scientists and facilities in the area of measurement analysis. And I'll just unpick that now. So it's open to UK businesses of any size. You have to have a company number, so you have to register on Companies House, but you can be a one-person company or you can be a multinational. And the aim is to understand and solve problems that impact productivity. And by productivity, we're talking about effectively making more product from the same resource, or reducing the cost of making a product, or doing things more efficiently. So it's a very broad experience of productivity. So examples within manufacturing could be that you make a product, but the reliability, you get too high a failure rate, and that costs you money. It might be the cost of manufacturing is too high. And if you could reduce that, you'd be able to sell more attractively into the marketplace. Or it could be product capability even, where a product you have in one market, if you could change its specification, you could make it go to a more stringent marketplace. And what we're trying to do is help companies by introducing you to experts from a number of partners for A4I. And they use their expertise and their facilities to try and address these problems. One of the things at the bottom there, what is out of scope is using A4I funding to do something that is already in existence from the commercial marketplace. So if all you need to do with your product is some high resolution microscopy or some other test that you can just go and buy commercially, that is not allowed within the program. It has to use a level of innovation. So I've mentioned the partners a few times, so this is a list of who they are. So Innovate UK, I'm sure many of you know, and they are the funders. They provide funding to companies to run these programs. The second bit of UKRI that's involved is STFC. This is Science and Technology Facilities Council, and they run the large UK facilities that are used by scientists and by industry. They include the high performance computing stuff at Daresbury, they include Diamond Light and a whole pile of other things. And then it is the three main parts of the National Measurement Service. National Physics Laboratory will measure almost anything. National Engineering Laboratory is up in Scotland and deals with flows down pipes and knows all there is to know about putting gases or liquids up and down pipes. And National Measurement Laboratory is the new name for what was once called the Laboratory of the Government Chemist. So they deal in biotechnologies and chemical, etc. And the competition itself, we've just in the process of running phase 5. The applications is closed. We're now doing the due diligence. But it's a 2-phase competition. And one of the things we're particularly keen is to attract as wide an audience into the competition. So at phase 1, when you make your original application, all you have to do is define the problem that you've got, what you've done to the moment to try and solve it, so we don't try and repeat old ground, but also what would be the impact of your business of finding a solution. So you don't have to work out what the solution is, you don't have to say how long it will take to solve, you're just trying to put down what your problem is. Then a key feature is we organize a brokerage session where the problems are all reviewed by the leading scientists, and they will pick from their teams experts who are relevant to that particular problem. And we'll organise 1.5 hour meetings with each of these experts so that you can actually discuss the problem with them and understand what they might do to help you solve it. And provided the two of you think that there's an opportunity to run a project here, then you put in an application to Innovate UK for funding to do the project. And we have 2 streams usually, 3-month projects up to 50k under the de minimis scheme, which means they're 100% funded, and longer projects up to 12 months, which can be up to £250,000. An example of the type of program we've done is with a company, some of you may have seen it, the Coconut Collaborative. You'll see their products in the supermarkets now. They import drums of coconut milk and then process them to convert it into yogurts, etc. And the problem they had was they didn't have a way of testing coconut milk to see if it was about to go rancid. It was a dip a spoon into it and taste it. And the person who was unlucky that week got the job of tasting the barrels of coconut, some of which might be rancid. So what they needed was a quick screening method to take out the human element here. And they worked, in fact, with 2 partners, STFC and NML. But NML developed a process that they could actually take into manufacturing to diagnose coconut milk, which was about to go off, much more sensitive. But that saved them £500,000 per annum. It prevents them getting the danger of any product that goes rancid on the supermarket shelves. And it's also removed one of the worst jobs in the company. A few of the products from NPL have done. There are a whole range of things. One of the ones at the bottom was AG+, which had electrodes in their particular diagnostic platform. There were heavy failure rates in the electrodes, and they weren't sure where that was coming from. It's found that was mainly due to the tests they were applying to the electrodes when they received them. New tests were developed, and that got there. So just to wrap up, key details. It's designed for companies who sell a product or a service. So you have to be an existing company and actually making money from something. It gives you access to these national experts and facilities. So it's particularly good for those companies that don't have in-house R&D. The simple application is because you define what your problem is. You don't have to worry about the solution. The team will handle that within the program. And the brokerage gets you these discussions with the relevant experts. And they then work with you to construct a suitable project and the application forms to go into Innovate UK. But all through this process, you're in charge. Final slide, those are my contact details. And there's a website, a4i.info, which handles details of previous projects and some more background to the program. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're handing now back to Chris for the final set.
Thank you, Sinead. And good afternoon again. So the final few slides are around the Infrastructure Industry Innovation Partnership, or I3P. So we've got an innovation partnership for the infrastructure industry. Why do we need that? Well, those of you that know a little bit about the innovation, about the infrastructure industry and the sector will know that it's a sector of 2 sides in a way. One side, it's very traditional, as one might charitably put it. And with that comes all the old practices, outdated practice. It's low profitability. It's a difficult place to be. And the other side of that coin, thankfully, is the sector has recognised this and it's coming together to try and address that. And it's making some headway in doing that. And that's what I3P is all about. How does I3P work and who's in it? I3P comprises 28 members of the infrastructure sector. It's client-led, and in infrastructure, the clients are the big projects. We have 9 of the projects there, you'll see to the bottom left, and they are non-competitive. So if they come up with a good idea, if they recognise a challenge, if indeed they have a failure, they're quite happy to share that. It's not competitive. If I'm digging a hole and I found a good way of doing it, and you need to dig a hole, I'm quite happy to share that idea with you. They've brought their supply chain, you can see on the bottom right of the slide there, along with them. And those guys are the ones that need to take the learning from the clients and indeed feed learning back into the clients to say, we have done this, we've managed to do things on one project and we can bring it to your project. What I3P as a structure provides is that open and safe environment where people can talk, they can be trusted, and they can swap those ideas for the benefit of the industry. KTN acts as the secretariat for I3P. There's an online portal. There's a strategy board, which is client chaired. We have government representation on that. And there's a delivery leadership group. Again, client chaired. This is the group that actually rolls its sleeves up and gets on and does projects. So I3P, whilst it shares information, shares best practice, successes and sometimes failures, it's not a talking shop. It's places where things are done, and they're done to make an impact on the industry. Doing that, it looks to shape the future, and indeed it is doing that shaping of the future. Part of the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund, £170 million transforming construction. Within the construction sector deal, I3P was referenced as a force for change. Prior to the construction sector deal, there was a great reluctance to put investment into the sector, and this is something the sector complained about. And the realization was they were not just being competitive, they were being adversarial. They weren't getting the synergy that they could achieve by sharing ideas and coming together. I3P was the vehicle through which they were able to demonstrate this collaborative approach, and it has had an impact. In addition to that, works very closely with the Department for Transport on TIES, the Transport Infrastructure Efficiency Strategy, and is working as part of the overall UK infrastructure pipeline. So it is shaping that future and looking at how things go forward. Now, that's a big ask, and I3P has 4 investment priorities, so basically 4 strategic themes. Now, this is how other people can get involved. We saw those 28 members earlier on, and you might think, well, I'm not part of that group, so how on earth can I get involved? Those companies and organisations work together. They come together, they put projects together, as I mentioned, by the Delivery Leadership Group, and these 4 strategic themes. So articulating demand, getting a capable client. That can be anything from having AI-enabled systems, common vocabulary, planning and process refinements, addressing the supply side, industrialization, for example. You will have seen building sites. It's stuff that happens outside in the rain and the bad weather. So how can we industrialize those processes? How can we bring factory and industrial processes to what is an in-field operation, for example? Preparing construction for a zero carbon world, that embraces a whole range of things, from actual embedded carbon in the materials, how things are put together, how you actually operate on building sites, to new materials. And if you have a new material, what do you need to do to actually get it in front of somebody that would want to use it on their project, the clients, and the people that would actually have to implement that, the supply chain. And then ensuring health, safety and well-being for all. This goes beyond boots and hard hats, mental health that's involved. There's attitude, behavioural management, there's personnel management with regards to monitoring, so on and so forth. 4 big strategic themes, and there's an awful lot that people can do to get involved in that. Now, we've got the large organisations that you've seen there in the membership that are involved in this, but there's a real interest and recognition that a lot can come from SMEs as well. We have a Working with SMEs group. It's led by Elspeth Finch, the CEO of IAND, and Colin Everson, Innovation Director at BAM Knuckle. So there's a route through which you could probably get involved with I3P if you have ideas, if you have some thoughts around those 4 strategic themes. There's a lot more that we could go through, but I'll finish off on this slide, which is just to highlight the I3P 2019 annual report. Have a look through there. It's a nice glossy read. It's not too taxing, but there's a lot of good leads into routes into which you may well be able to get involved with the infrastructure sector. It might be something you've not heard of or even considered before, but there's lots of opportunity there. I'll wrap up with that one now. Thank you very much. I'm Chris Bagley, Head of Infrastructure at KTN.
Thank you, Chris. We're going to start the Q&A session now. We already have a few questions, but feel free to pop more in the Q&A box. So we have a question. Generally, there is an NDA process when one engages with a third party before disclosing any information. How does this work within the process? And I think this one was related to the Innovation Exchange Program, Chris.
Okay. Basically, in the short form that you fill in at the beginning of this, the rule of thumb is don't write anything down that you wouldn't want to jeopardize. Basically, you have to put information in there that says you have the challenge that the challenge holder has articulated is this. I can address it because I have the following, the background and the qualification, if you like, can be put into this. But it's quite a high level description that people put in. So we always say, if you have any doubt about IP and knowledge in there, keep it to yourself, but you have to be able to articulate a convincing argument. Remember, of course, that once we go through that process, there's the opportunity at the end of it for the face-to-face pitch session with the challenge holder. But the byword is always, don't write anything down if you're not happy with it going into a wider audience.
Thank you, Chris. The next question is, what is the cost for attending the Pitch Fest?
That's a wonderfully easy question. It's free. And how do they go about their?
So if you want to be involved in Pitch Fest programs, you can either find them based on geography via EEN's website. They usually advertise them quite a lot. If you're signed up for the Women in Innovation newsletter, we will promote them on that. If they are sector specific, we encourage you to join the sector specific newsletters. And each community within KTN has one of them, which you can do on our website. And there is also our website, which will keep you updated of the sector-specific ones. It is an application process, so there'll be a deadline to apply for each specific one. You just need to submit an application before the deadline closes.
Thank you, Shuan. Next question for KTN IX. Can we submit an application for a challenge not listed currently?
No, is the short answer. It is very much about having specific challenges there and looking for solutions to those challenges, rather than speculative, I've got a solution that somebody may be looking for. So it is very much around specific challenges as posed. We do have a list of past challenges, and that's available if someone says, you know, I understand that challenge is closed, but if the challenge holder is still interested in alternatives, we could table those. But basically, it's respond to what's on the site, please.
Thank you. A question for you, Shuan. How are women being highlighted here, and if there's more to the webinar?
So we've brought together these programs as part of this webinar to really highlight the opportunities. We've found in quite a few of the programs that they're not being taken up by as many women as we would like to take them up on. And we're not sure if that is just because they're not aware of the programs, or if there is any underlying qualities that our female delegates are unsure about. So we really wanted to highlight these opportunities and give you an opportunity to ask questions about them to hopefully get you more engaged. If there's anything as part of the Women in Innovation programme that you would like to see done more, please let me know. My email address is on the programme on this page here, and I'm always open for further suggestions.
Sharon, I can also add to that, if you like, on a couple of specifics. Within the IX programme, you saw that we had 110 submissions there against the offshore wind side of things. We knew that in a handful of those companies, there were female CTOs, CEOs, engineers, scientists. Not one of them pitched. And we had asked, can we see females come forward and pitch in this? And we didn't have that. And it's one of the things that we've recognised, that we really need to find a way, and I'm not suggesting that we've achieved that yet, but we really want to be able to expose the opportunity to a much wider audience and find out where we're not doing the right thing in attracting women into these particular challenges. Similarly, within the infrastructure sector, that is, when I said it's traditional with the bad things that come with it, it's a traditionally male-dominated environment. There are lots of women that are involved with I3P at high level that are changing that. But again, what we want to be able to do is say, this is a sector that you may not have considered because of its profile, its perceived way of doing things. And these are opportunities to help change that.
Thank you, Chris. A follow-up question for you as well. How do we access the list of past challenges on KTN IX?
That should be available on the Innovation Exchange website. If it hasn't been put up there as a tab, get in touch and we can send that direct to you.
Perfect, thank you. The next question, it always seems to be that there is help as long as you've already raised some investment or already got some traction, customers, revenue. But if your business is technology and therefore quite costly to even create an MVP, it's difficult to get started. Any expert thoughts on that?
I think I'll try taking that one. I think the key thing to concentrate here is traction takes many forms, and the gold standard is definitely repeat customers. But as you've quite rightly highlighted in the case study you've given there, that isn't always the case. So what we cover in the Pitch Fest is what other forms of traction are sensible and how you document and capture them to suit those scenarios. I mean, we've worked with companies who've been trying to commercialize, who are commercializing nuclear fusion, which if I had to think of a deep tech idea, private investment into nuclear fusion is about as hard as I could imagine. And these guys have raised over £2 million into that technology area by knowing how they package the story to make it digestible to investors. And this is all about understanding the next step of the journey, how it brings value, and how do you validate that that value could be achieved.
Thank you, Ian. And is it mandatory to have customers in place for Pitch Fest?
No, I mean, I think mandatory is a very strong word. So I'm not going to say it's mandatory. I'm just saying that if I had to pick a gold standard, understanding who your customers are and having it documented by repeat business is as good as it's going to get. And what we cover, as I said, previously, is what do you do if you're not in that situation to get you into that situation.
Perfect, thank you. Another question. So I'm working on a DNA analysis kits development. I have done initial market research and I am in research of research laboratory and expert advice. Should I get guidance on that?
So the short answer seems to be yes. I think the longer answer is on the different elements, and we'll be more than happy to have a chat even without a Pitch Fest program. I think I can speak for Nigel and Baggers here. Would be more than happy to phone call and help you pull together that story.
Perfect, thank you. Next one, if we wanted to hear more about forthcoming opportunities, in particular the pitching programs, how would we find out?
Newsletters will be fine. Speaking to one of your knowledge transfer advisors, your knowledge transfer managers, your catapult networks, your EEN, they all work. In the worst case scenario, we've got the inquiries email at the KTN. Fire off an email to the inquiries line at the KTN, and that will get shunted round to the right person if you can't find any of the usual ways in.
Thank you. And what's the difference between analysis for innovators and bridging for innovators? This one is for you, Nigel.
Hi, thanks very much. Yes, it's a common question. The two programs, analysis for innovators, started first, and bridging came second, hence the A and the B. The bridging for B4I is run for STFC, and so is only open to people who want to use the STFC facilities. There are minor differences in the funding between the two, but both of them address the same problem, which is increasing productivity within UK industry, and both do it by helping companies work by the cutting edge societies and scientists and facilities that are available and sometimes locked away. So B4I is more or less exactly the same as A4I, but is only done with STFC, whereas A4I is a bigger program which covers the other support experts.
Is there any agreement that the next one's going to be called Challenge?
One should never make jokes in our world. There is already a program called C4I. Sorry. It is called Cognition for Industry. It is run primarily by STFC and the High Performance, and is aimed at helping companies understand the opportunities with more artificial intelligence and machine learning within their businesses. If you keep watching our newsletters, we hope to be running some more seminars on that in the coming quarter.
Perfect, thank you.
I thought dilemmas. Could be dilemmas, could be decisions.
Indeed.
Sorry.
So
Back to the question.
About who is the person covering London. If we could expand on that, and I mean the attendee.
So I'll kind of pick that up. The Knowledge Transfer Network has sector experts who cover the entirety of the UK. So if you wanted to speak to a specific sector expert, please get in touch with that person. If they deem that it's be worthwhile face-to-face meeting, they're prepared to travel to you. On a kind of overall level, if you wanted to speak with regards to diversity and inclusion as a woman in innovation, please use my email details to contact me. If I'm not the best person to speak to, I will direct you to who is.
Thank you. We had another question about the 14th of January deadline. That is not a deadline, that's the upcoming Women Innovation Building Success webinar that will explore value proposition. So please, everyone, feel free if you are interested to register for it. We have another question. I'd like to talk about this challenge you're having. We have been able to increase our percentage of women pitching at my company pitch events from 0 to 33% in the past 4 years. It's tough, but there are ways to work on this, and it's something near and dear to my heart. This is from Melanie Evan of Volition Advisors, Vancouver-based, but lives in Madrid. I think this one is one for you, Shuan.
Sorry, I didn't really get the question aspect of it, but it sounds like you're doing a brilliant job in helping more women to pitch. So keep up the good. Is there a question aspect to it, Raluca? Sorry.
No, I was just.
I think it's more about sharing ideas and sharing knowledge. So there's been some success here from Melanie, who's managed to increase her percentage of women pitching. And so is offering to kind of work with us and to share some tips, I think. So thank you very much, Melanie.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. If you wanted to get in touch with me, I'd be happy to pick up on your expertise, and we can help share knowledge our way and take knowledge from you as well.
Thank you, Shuan. I think this is the end of our questions, unless anyone else has any last minute questions. Thank you to you all for your presentations. Do you have anything else you want to add before we finish?
I think there's anything from London.
Nothing from Edinburgh either. So thank you all for joining today's webinar, and thank you, Christian, Lorna, and Nigel for the insightful presentations. We hope you found the webinar useful and opened your eyes to an opportunity which may help your business to grow. We would like to remind you that the next Women Innovation Building Success webinar will be held on the 14th of January and will explore value proposition. You can also find out more about the forthcoming events and opportunities via our newsletter or by signing up to our online community. If you'd like any other further information or support, please feel free to contact my colleague Siobhan Smith via email. And thank you again for joining. These recordings and slides will be available on our website. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.